Wait, what recreation thing? The donations? No, 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 no. For the war.
10 years.
Yep.
Oh,
You know that.
so we don't know anything. It's not a team. And we just like.
Everyone, if we can find our seats, silence our cell phones, close the back door or side doors, any doors that are open, I greatly appreciate it. We're about to get started. Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. We are on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 12th day of November in the year 2024. This is a City Council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. caucus. Councilperson Ridley, not here yet. Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
Councilperson Soleil is not here yet.
Yeah.
Neither is Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Yeah.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have PM. On behalf of Council President Waterman and the members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor to City Hall, the annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2024, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, November 30th, 2023. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, November 8th, 2024 at 4:12 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Afternoon. Our first director, Director Kears. He's on vacation.
Good afternoon, President Warden and members of the council. I have 3 items before you this evening. The first one is Resolution 24-822, 1017. The resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Lawman Supply Company for the purchase and delivery of 45 caliber 230 gram 50-20 Spear ammunition under the New Jersey State contract for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, biannual qualifications for police officers. Total amount of this contract is $44,957.46, and the funding is available in the Public Safety Operating Account. Item 2 is 1018, 24-823. The resolution will authorize the city to exercise its first option to renew a contract with TUCS Cleaning Services Incorporated to provide janitorial services at various city buildings for a 1-year period commencing September 26, 2024 through September 25th, 2025. Total amount of this contract is $1,735,102.81 with a temporary encumbrance of $450,000, which is available under the DPW operating account.
Greg, is this the company we use at 39 Kearney?
Yes, that's correct.
And we've been having a lot of issues with the cleanliness of the bathrooms over there. So if we can get them to get some more, I guess, manpowers or some more attention over there.
I'll bring it to Director Dublin's attention. And the final is item 1020, 24-825. A resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Business Information Systems Incorporated, DBA BIS Digital, to upgrade existing Liberty DCR recording software and sound systems in the 5 courtrooms at the municipal court facility on the interlocal tips purchasing system. Total amount of this contract is $92,855.51, and the funds are available in the reserve account.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Mr. Kirsch, you'd make a great public safety director. I'm telling you that right now. I think that the BA should definitely let the public safety director know that if he doesn't come to these meetings or his assistant public safety director comes to this meeting, I won't entertain stuff like this. I mean, this is blatant and, you know, it's unfortunate because we have entities like the fire department going through challenges and we have nobody to answer that. So I think that we need to give them that message moving forward to expect them here at every single caucus meeting from here on end.
That's up to the business administrator to tell him, not to Greg. He should be here at every meeting. And last meeting, he didn't answer any of the questions.
But we have
I'm
an
a-
assistant, we have an assistant public safety director that could be here.
Especially after this weekend with the horrible fire, we're still in a red flag alert. And there were several stations or ladders taken off duty over the holiday weekend. And I know some of our firefighters have been deployed to where the West Milf.
We have 3 companies and a battalion that went to West Milford. On top of that, we had a 4-alarm fire. They called for overtime, but one fire captain couldn't make it. They didn't go down the list. That's BS. BS. Get it straight or move out the way and let somebody else do the job.
When will we have an answer?
Yeah, I think for that particular matter, we should have a special meeting on. I mean, that wouldn't have been something to have a debate in the public caucus on, but I definitely will acknowledge that we want him here moving forward. He's on vacation today, so if the council wishes to remove the items, the administration is not going to, revoke that. Just kind of where we're at, and I think we should call a special meeting for the fire department. So.
Yeah, but John, he's only been here once out of the last several meetings we've had. Nobody from the police department's been here. And we have a lot of problems in the police department.
Then I suggest that we have meetings with public safety on those particular matters. The caucus here is to represent items. Today, there were ammunition for requalifying that if we want to pull, that's a different conversation to have, but we don't have every member come unless there's a conversation about a particular item on the agenda.
I 100% agree with you. The problem is if when we give him an email, he never responds. Nobody in that office responds. So
Definitely.
I get it. So right now, we're just making it clear. Moving forward, we can have a meeting.
Meeting.
I respect that, Councilman, yes.
And can we try and commit to not closing any of the other ladders down while we're still in this red alert? And some firefighters are going outside of the city to help the fire that's going on.
I'll communicate with Chief Johns myself and I'll provide an update before the meeting on Thursday.
Thank you.
John, maybe certain people in this city should speak to the firemen and the cops and the people in public works, what's going on.
That's what I just said I'm going to do.
Yeah, well.
Council President, before you call the next director, I just want to mark for the record, Councilperson Ridley present at 4:07 PM and Councilperson Saleh present at 4:08 PM. So we now have 8 members present.
TJ?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
I have 3.
Khadidra, we can't hear you. You gotta,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Good evening, council. I have 3 items to present before you. The first item number is 10.22. This is resolution 24827. This is a resolution awarding a contract to Doyle Alliance Group as an extraordinary unspecifiable service to provide the city of Jersey City with insurance consulting services and to be the city's broker of record for obtaining and maintaining the city's management and non-management life insurance. This is a 1-year term with 2 additional 1-year options starting November 1st, 2024, and the total amount of the contract is $16,200. Any questions? The next item is 10.23, Resolution 24828. This is a resolution authorizing a contract with Brown & Brown Metro LLC as an extraordinary unspecifiable service to provide City of Jersey City with insurance consulting services and to be the city's broker of record for obtaining and maintaining the city's dental benefits for active employees and retirees. This is also a one-year contract with 2 additional one-year options to renew starting November 1st. Total amount of contract is $60,000.
Just want to confirm, like I do each year, there's no affiliation with Brown, and Metro and John Metro. So I'd be working for them.
Any questions? The last item is 10.24. This is resolution 24829. This is a resolution authorizing the award of a competitively bid contract to Jersey City Medical Center for medical services of civilians and uniform employees and also applicants for employment. This is a one-year contract with an option to renew three additional one-year terms. And the total amount of the contract is $472,924.
Can you, so what exactly the service they're providing here?
You were talking about Jersey City Medical Center?
Yes.
So they screen our new hires for employment, as well as if we need to send an employee for a fit for duty exam. They are the vendor that will provide the services.
So for physicals and stuff like that?
Yes.
How many people are we hiring annually that we need to spend this much money on?
So it's actually for active employees as well, not just new hires?
Councilman, if someone were to get into a motor vehicle accident, calls for service with the police and fire, if they get injured and they need to get checked out, it's more extensive than just onboarding. It's
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's any medical evaluation that would be required for a potential employee or an active employee.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Wait,
So we don't have a city doctor anymore? Like Boylan is out?
We're month to month with Dr. Boylan as we go through the process of selecting a new vendor, and because of his connection with the medical facility.
Got it.
Questions? Thank you.
Okay, Council President, before you move on, I just want to mark Councilperson Solomon present at 4:13 PM. So we have all 9 council members present at 4:13. Thank you.
Dr. Patel?
Council President, members of the council, I have 4 items for the Department of Infrastructure today. The first one is agenda item 3.2, ordinance 24-101. This is an ordinance supplementing chapter 332 of the Municipal Code, designating reserved parking spaces at various locations throughout the city. The next one is agenda item 3.4, ordinance 24-103. This is an ordinance also supplementing chapter 332 of the Municipal Code. This is establishing a residential only zone on Princeton Avenue, which is parking zone 9. The next item is resolution 24-820, agenda item 10.15. This is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to FC3 Architecture and Design for the design of various community/recreational centers throughout the city at 3 locations.
Buck, I just, so this is for so when you say a rec center and then you say we're modeling that to the Bethune Center is not a rec, so I'm a little confused on exactly exactly what we're doing here.
I'm sorry, what is the reference to the Bethune Center?
Because I see the mayor put out a tweet saying that they're creating these community centers in every ward modeled after the Bethune Center.
Understood.
But the Bethune Center is not a rec. So are any of these new facilities going to actually have like recreational activities in them?
Thank you for giving that clarification. I wasn't sure what the reference was. So when we start the design process with the various neighborhoods that each of these 3 facilities are located in, it is possible that one or some or all may be designed to have a very recreation focus for sports and programs and activities, or they may have a completely community center design, which will be similar to, for example, the new library that we just built on Johnston Avenue, or it may be a combination of both. Most likely, all 3 of them will have flexible space that designs for the ability to do some amount of each of those things. We just don't know yet. So the purpose of awarding this contract and getting this firm on board is to start that process with each of the communities to understand exactly what the need is and how each specific space can fill that need through the physical area that's available.
Oh,
So we just don't know is the short answer.
all right. So, and then you guys are going to have the meetings with the community groups? Because I know some did reach out and they were a little confused. So this is essentially to award the contract, to go and work with them to see what can potentially come.
Yeah, this is the very first step.
All right.
So we will start by getting first a big picture understanding of what the needs are in each area and whether the space we have available can fill those needs. Then based on that feedback, the designer will create a few concepts and then we'll go back to the community and say, this is what we came up with, have them, weigh in on that. And then we'll go back one last time to refine the design before we get to the final construction documents to build anything.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm not going to speak for other wards, but I know the goal is to get active recreation in each of these centers in these 3 wards that we're starting with in all 6 wards, but definitely at Bayside, we're looking for active recreation, especially since it's being built from the ground up. It gives us that leeway to decide what we want to include in there. So the answer for us is yes.
Okay. So I like this process, right? But since it's not like you guys don't have all the answers yet, it seems, why don't we table it till we get 6 wards included as opposed to 3 wards? I mean, it's something that I've been working on for 10 years to have all 6 wards. So when I see this, I'm on board with it. But then when you say we don't have all the answers yet, it kind of like puts me in purgatory here. Like my old council colleague, Michael Yoon would say, I scratch my head, right? So I don't understand why can't we, would the funds go away if we wait?
I don't think we're
I don't
supposed to
think
have
that's
all
my
the answers
call to
yet.
make. Sorry?
I was saying, I don't think we're supposed to have all of the answers right now. I think the point was to make it inclusive of the community, and that's why meetings are starting in January. So I think it would be kind of wrong for us to decide what that's going to be without having those community meetings first.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to defer to the administration and ultimately that's a council decision. What I will say is that the decisions that still have to be made are what I meant to say are more from a design perspective. We don't know exactly how the spaces we have available will be designed and exactly what each community wants within that space. So that's what this effort is for. And I know that we are starting with these spaces because they are either already city owned or soon to be city owned. So it's land and property that the city already has in its control to build. And I believe the intention for the administration is to then expand into other locations. But I, again, would have to defer to the administration. I don't have that answer.
So BA, so let's say we are on board with this. Let me be specific with me. Like I'm on board with this. Could I get a 100% guarantee that on phase 2 we'll have the entire city?
Well, Councilman, I'll work with you on that, but I think some of the conversation we had around starting with the 3 locations was like the Central Avenue location is pretty much a brand new location, so they wouldn't need one, right? So we're looking at the proximity of the 3 that we're going to build into what we already have. Some we may just rehab existing locations. So these would be 3 areas that we have a vacuum that we need to fill as far as a perimeter. But we could talk about redesigning the existing facilities we have as well. The issue is we're just trying to make sure that we are instilling projects in properties that we have control of and ownership of.
So the old senior center, go ahead.
To your point, for the funding of these 3, you can tie them to a larger image of different other projects as well to scale.
So the old senior building in Central Avenue, up in the Heights area. So that's going to be remodeled.
Yeah, so we had Central Avenue building where we had former
Right?
finance was up there and parking authority.
Mhm.
That is now a senior center.
Right.
Now we're going to take that old senior center and rehab it into a community center. So that's one that's already solved, right? And then we're working with Councilwoman Ridley on creating something on city land that would have to be
Right.
adopted to that land, but is not existing at the moment. So we're trying to find ways to utilize what we have and then build assets around the areas that are deserts.
And I think the design process and the community feedback will help in the later iterations of, you know, when they expand the rec centers to every ward, which is the ultimate goal. And I think 28 Patterson Street, which is the site of the old senior center, is ripe for, you know, usage. Right now, it's just sitting vacant, and it wasn't vacant before, but now it is. And I know that there's Mosquito, he, you know, runs the boxing, and he literally boxes outside. And now it used to be Mosquito Park, Leonard Gordon Park, but since that closed, he's in Pershing Field and he doesn't have a space. And, you know, it seems like there's a lot of community groups like the break dancers, they didn't have a space. And now we have an opportunity to house them all in one place. And, you know, it's low hanging fruit, but the community feedback process is going to be instrumental towards creating a space that's inclusive of everyone and getting that feedback and parlaying that into the other wards.
I just want to be clear, I'm not against this. On the record, clear, I am not against this. I just am very concerned that phase 2 might not be there.
It's gonna be.
We're gonna make sure, we got to make sure it's there.
No, I just think with regards to Bayside, like this is gonna be a huge opportunity. Like the BA said, we have the land already. I'm very interested to see what comes to fruition there. We can really hit a home run right there in that area right there. I vote aye, Sean.
So just to sort of follow up, because I represent a ward that is not on the list.
Right.
And I understand that it's because the city does not own a lot of property in my ward, and we are working on something for the Collier Center currently. But to echo the councilman's comments and concerns, we don't want to be left off the list. So however we can participate, and even if there's maybe a little bit additional funding to talk about, okay, we have these buildings that we can use because the city owns them, but for the other wards that are not part of this first round, community, what do you want? So we can start building from that and not wait to see because you know, we're going to find a lot of universal themes, but each ward is very specific, right? And there are also, you know, benefits to locations in my ward that are either close to light rail or, you know, fill that void. So just, I think that's really, that's my concern, is that we're going to do all this great work for these things. And then what? Now we've got 3 new centers, so we don't need any more. When I know that that's not the goal and the intent, but that should be the goal and the intent. So just that, however that looks, or maybe another resolution for the next meeting, if we can find some additional funding to start at least the concept of the next phase sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and Barker, we have Ward C, we have the Pad Side Terminal, and we have the Hudson County Community College in Ward C. And yet I haven't heard any mention about anything for Ward C.
See what you started?
Yeah, and also, somebody asked, where's the money gonna come to do all this work?
Sorry, Councilwoman Prinzary, to answer your question, I think we could also expand the scope of this current contract to vet some of those locations, and we can meet with the council members on that. FC3, right, is very reputable, and they're very mindful of both project cost and what's actually doable from a perspective. So if you guys have areas for us to take a look at, or he can be proactive and look at sites himself, he'll kind of know right off the bat if they're going to be exercised in this opportunity, or we have to pivot. But those could also include future sites and renovations to existing structures.
Go ahead, Paul.
One more. Agenda item 10.21, resolution 24-826. This is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, the NJTPA, for its fiscal year 2025 local safety program. The submission from the city and from the Department of Infrastructure for this grant is for the design and installation of traffic signals at 5 different intersections across the city. They include Bergen and Bentley, MLK and Stevens, MLK and Dwight, Ocean and Cater, and Newark and Waldo. And other safety improvements at additional intersections, which include Ocean and Seaview, MLK and Warner, and Bergen and Harrison. Basically, we wanted to apply for this grant funding, which is over $7 million, to reduce the burden on our capital budget, knowing that traffic signals are extremely expensive and we haven't been able to install many new ones in the city for that reason, but also knowing that these intersections need these improvements. So hopefully we will get the grant, be able to accomplish this work, and then apply for further intersections in the future.
Hey, Barker, so each of these intersections, some are getting a light and then some are getting the flashing pedestrian beacons? Okay. I know.
So the ones that are getting the beacons will have other safety improvements in addition to the beacons. And then we've prioritized those 5 for brand new signal upgrades or brand new signals if they don't already exist.
Okay, I know we talked about this before. We have to do something with that MLK corridor, that 5-block radius. There's like no traffic devices anywhere in that 5-block radius.
Yeah, exactly. So that's so we've included 3 of those 5 intersections in this application. Actually, not all of them are in that stretch. Let me.
Yeah, no, none of them are here.
Well, MLK and Dwight was one of them. No.
No, the
Talking about the-
intersection we're talking about, it's Bayview, Myrtle, Boswick.
Oh, got it.
Right,
Okay.
Those,
Yes.
that intersection right there.
Yeah.
There's no traffic lights over there.
Yep.
That's what I was looking for. I seen MLK and I lost my mind. And then when I read the cross street, I said, oh.
And Barker, you have on Fairmont Avenue, you have a youth development center there. I guess it's pretty brand new. And those kids, and I went by last week, and there has to be some sort of like maybe a pedestrian crossing, maybe light in that area. I mean, you can't miss the place. It's a brand new, like, and tumbling type thing. I don't know what they have there, but parents are very concerned, about that people just race through there right next to Speedy.
Yes,
Yeah.
Speedy.
Yes, I think that's one of the ones we talked
Okay.
about last week. We will definitely try to advance that one. Just so everyone on the council knows, we're working internally within the administration across multiple departments to try to create a better process for installing these, because we've both, had an issue with supply of them within our city's inventory. And just, we're seeing more and more requests for them coming up. So we will be including that in our budget requests and make sure that we can have more of them in stock to install whenever these requests come up.
Thank you.
I had a question actually. Do we have any update on the extension of the grant for the Manhattan Avenue and Franklin Avenue potential bike lane?
Yes, the grant extension was submitted, I think, a couple of weeks ago. It has gone through a queue of approvals through the NJ DOT, and so it is approved. We're just waiting for the formal correspondence from the NJ DOT on what alternatives would be funded, if not the original design that we came up with. But we will have the 6-month extension in order to keep working on the grant.
Okay, and then once you have word from the NJDOT, you'll be able to present that to me and we can present it to the community?
Yeah, so I believe the plan that I had shared with you, Councilman, maybe last week or the week before, was that I do just want in writing from the NJDOT what the eligible activities are before I either share with you or with the community what we can do. I don't want to promise that we'll be able to achieve a design that the DOT ends up not funding. So I would first like to get a written confirmation on an alternative plan to both Manhattan and Franklin that they are willing to fund. Once we have those alternatives, it may be several things, it may be just one design, we don't know yet. At that point, we can have a conversation with you and your office, as well as with Councilman Bogiano. And after that, we can determine what the appropriate next step is with the community, whether that's a community meeting similar to the last one or a different form of outreach. And we can determine that together and create a plan for outreach.
Okay, so as of right now, it's been submitted, the extension's been submitted several weeks ago, and we're just waiting on the NJDOT to give official approval. Written,
Yes, on the specific design alternatives that will be funded.
understood.
Grant extension is approved. We
Thank you.
know that we will have the ability to use the grant for an additional 6 months. What I'm waiting for now is just the specific technical information on the designs themselves that will be acceptable to the DOT, if not the two-way protected cycle track, the way we had originally envisioned.
And you're not waiting for anything from my office, my council office, correct?
No.
Okay, so that's a no. Thank you. That's all. Just want to make sure everyone hears that loud and clear.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Goodman.
Good evening, Council President, council members. I have one item for you today. It's 10.12, Resolution 24-817. It's a resolution authorizing a resolution appointing Melita Rodas as the Poet Laureate of the City of Jersey City to serve as the 4th Poet Laureate for a period of 2 years. And just to give you a little background, this is a process that the Jersey City Arts Council's Literary Committee goes through where they nominate a new poet laureate and make that recommendation to the city.
She'll be here on Thursday. Will she be here Thursday?
She would love to come on Thursday. That works for you. She'll be here.
Will she be able to drop a few bars or stanzas for us?
That is the request, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Vivian.
I can't.
Good evening, council. I have one item. Item number 10.1, resolution number 806. And it's a resolution authorizing the insertion of special item to the revenue to the budget. So we're currently adding 2 new grants and we're increasing one existing grant. The total insertion to the budget is $1,244,606 with a match of increase in the match of $191,535. Any questions?
Anything Pacific?
There's port security, FY24 for the port security. There's FY23, which is bikes for Manhattan Avenue. And so port security is 75,000. The bike lanes for Manhattan Avenue is 670,000. And
Vivian.
the increase for senior nutrition is 499,000.
Hey, BA.
I just want to clarify, this is an accounting resolution in which when we accept the funds, we have to notify the council that we're inserting into the budget post approval. So this isn't found money. This isn't, we're not changing the budget, we're not doing anything other than receiving the grants that we applied for and putting them into the budget document.
And what if we don't want that money being used for certain things, John?
It's a
The
grant.
grant specifies exactly what the dollars have to
Yeah,
be
well,
used for.
the one issue on Manhattan Avenue is a big issue.
Yes, so those dollars would be explicitly for that location. And then we would discuss the actual implementation of the grant.
It's got to be discussed thoroughly because the people are fed up.
Vivian just letting you know she has the money in the bank.
That's it.
The policy decision has to be administered after the fact.
That's it. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
Jennifer, Municipal Court.
Put no bike lane on Manhattan Avenue.
Good afternoon. Jennifer Drager from Municipal Court. I have one resolution today. It's Resolution 24-825, Agenda 10.20. This resolution is to award a contract for Biz Digital Business Information Systems to upgrade the court's existing court recording and sound system for 5 courtrooms. The contract amount is $92,855.51. This will be funded by the court's Parking Offense Adjudication Act reserve account. The sound recordings are currently 24 years old and are in need of upgrades to provide quality digital court recordings and to preserve the rights for appeal court rulings.
Excuse me. What was the account you listed that the money's being paid out of?
It's the Parking Offense Adjudication Act.
And can you say more about what that is?
Sure. And for every parking ticket that is issued, there's $2 when it's paid that goes into the Parking Adjudication Act for the court to use. It's a reserved account funded by the state.
You know how much is in that account?
There's about $2.4 million right now.
I've contributed to that account.
Oh.
That's a lot.
We're very limited on what we could use it for, so I'm very grateful that they approved this for this.
Yeah. So just for the council's understanding, as Jen had described, every time we go to utilize these dollars, they have to be used towards the municipal court purposes, and it goes through the state courts and then handed down. So this is something that would directly impact the rights of those that appear. So we've had other instances where it was denied for furnishings and stuff like that. So it's very specific as to what it could be utilized for.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
We'll make sure your dollars are used wisely.
Thank you for your contribution.
John Mercer.
Good evening, council. I got a parking ticket today, so I'm doing my part. I'm here for item 10.7, resolution 24-812, approval of the corrective action plan for calendar year ended December 31st, 2023. There weren't a whole lot of surprises in the audit. We've made some improvements in some areas, like getting ineligible health benefits recipients out of the program, cleared up some prior year findings, some easy ones, making sure we have the correct signatories for bank accounts and bonding on employees like tax collector, municipal court judges. We're moving slowly, not as fast as we'd like, but I think we're making some progress.
Questions, guys? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Danny.
Good afternoon, Council President, Municipal Council. For your consideration, I have 6 items, 1 ordinance, and 5 resolutions. I'm going to start off with the ordinance first. It is ordinance number 24-100, agenda number 3.1. This is an ordinance of the city of Jersey City in the county of Hudson, state of New Jersey, providing for a special emergency appropriation in the amount of $9 million to fund contractually required severance liabilities resulting from the retirement of employees of the city. This ordinance is specifically for retirees within public safety, and the principal amount of $9 million will be deferred over 5 budget cycles at annual installments of $1.8 million. Just to let you know that we will need to fund this ordinance, because if we don't, we will need to find $9 million to transfer, which is not realistic. Any deficit will be a direct hit to 2024 operations, which ultimately reduces the fund balance in 2025 and will have to be raised as deferred charge in the 2025 budget. Questions?
Is this normal? I mean, I know we've had other special emergency appropriations, but like $9 million, is this the most we've had? Is this on par with the other years? Like
Other years, we had about $10 million. So, this is definitely a reduction this year moving forward.
Yeah, the highest aggregate I've seen in the 9 years I was in finance was about 15 million. It's been reduced because over time, the less senior public official, public fire and safety officials aren't entitled to the same payouts as the former grandfathered officials. And what we did here this year is we did budget for the civilians on our side. This is to bond specifically for the contractual obligations of what we call phase 1, which is the more senior police and public safety officials.
they had a benefit that said basically if you retire by X date that you get paid out a certain amount of money? Or?
Whatever their accruals were. In 2010, a state law passed through Governor Christie's saying that no matter how much time you have on the books, the most you could receive as a benefit is $15,000. So you either use your days or forfeit them. Some of the more senior people were grandfathered into that.
Do we have a projected date when those accruals will no longer be a part of our budget? Like, do we anticipate like the next decade or over that?
Potentially probably over the next 6 to 7 budget cycles, just because we're now entering where the last beneficiaries of that were larger classes. So some of those public officials are deciding to leave or continue their service.
Okay.
Councilman, we have deferred these charges over time.
Gotcha.
The 5 resolutions that I have, the first one is resolution number 24-807, 10.2, agenda number. This is a resolution authorizing calendar year 2024 appropriation transfer for the Department of Administration. This request is due to the cost of living increase within Division of Internal Audit and within information technology, the hiring of an assistant technology director. Any questions on that? Okay. The second resolution that I have, I am respectfully requesting for this resolution to be withdrawn. It is resolution number 24-808, agenda number 10.3, and it's a resolution authorizing calendar year 2024 transfer to the Department of Finance. And originally, this request is for tax court settlement before the tax court of New Jersey. The reason why we uploaded this resolution is to, hold on a second here. It was a precautionary measure, so we won't accrue any more interest. As of yesterday, we were notified that we have sufficient funding in the original bond ordinance, so we have funding to take care of this.
So we'll be withdrawing this at the council.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Appreciate that.
10-3, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
10.2.
just making sure the right one.
The third item that I have, it's resolution number 24-809, agenda number 10.4. This is a resolution authorizing calendar year 2024 appropriation transfers for Department of Housing, Economic Development, and Commerce. There again, this is due to the cost of living adjustment, which is the COLA in economic development, and also for contractual obligations to provide special regular meetings for the Board of Adjustment Division. And the total there is 19,000 altogether. Next one I have is resolution number 24-810, agenda number 10.5, resolution authorizing calendar year 2024 appropriation transfer for Department of Public Works. This is due to the COLA increase again in Director's Office, and also for the Automotive Division, which handles over 1,400 vehicles in our fleet. This is primarily for various parts and synthetic oil. As we all know, synthetic oil costs a lot more, and we need to have synthetic oil in our vehicles. Otherwise, if we don't, it will void the manufacturer's warranty. Any questions on that?
Oh, my bad. I was thinking out loud.
Next one, Daniel.
Last but not least is resolution number 24-811, agenda number 10.6. It's a resolution authorizing calendar year 2024 appropriation transfer to the Department of Public Safety. This is primarily due to the holiday and compensation time for police and fire employees, and compensation time is for active employees. Any questions?
So, yeah, a few questions. One, as it relates to the 300,000 coming from construction code enforcement, I think we need more enforcement. There's all type of illegal construction going on, and I thought that we didn't have the money in the budget to hire more inspectors. And two, the 300 is going to salaries and wages. This is for all overtime?
No, so within police, they had money within the regular budget to cover the overtime. This is just strictly for the compensation aspect of it.
Explain now.
So, hold on a second.
Hold on, Kyle, I'll help.
So the difference between the retirement payouts and the comp time is for active employees that may have sick time that they didn't use from the prior year or the current year. We can get you a detail of who exactly it's for, but it's not permissible for us to bond for those payouts. We do include some in the budget, but the budget is obviously an estimate, and if additional time is paid out during the year, we have to cover those expenses.
So for the 300,000 that's going to police salaries and wages, is that overtime or is it new? Like what specifically is that 300?
No, that's for the comp time payouts that I just.
Councilman, when they recruit days for working on a holiday or such, they're allowed to sell them back to the city. That's.
Oh.
Yeah, police and fire are allowed to do that. Civilians are.
Okay.
We're transferring 1.4 million from the council over to public safety.
Yeah, so the council budget is fully funded in accordance with the max salaries for council members and council aides. So if you don't, again, this is money that's not going to be spent through the end of the year. So this is where we identified the transfer from. And this doesn't impact next year's budget. The council budget will be fully funded again in 25.
Okay. So is it a specific entity where this money is going to, police, fire, or?
Yeah, the breakdown is in the resolution. It's
says fire.
a few divisions: director's office, police, fire,
Good.
and traffic.
Good.
And I believe Danny has a memo with all the detail on, why and what exactly how much to where and from what lines.
And council, the finance team took your advice from last year. We had one or two of these from last year at the end of the year where we had all of the items on one resolution. And it got a little complicated when we wanted to strike one out or not. So they took the council's recommendation and separated each resolution for each department. So, you know, if the council agrees with one department and not the other, we have the ability to fund that particular ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Council President, council members. I'm here for item number 10.16, Resolution 24-821. This is a resolution accepting the Jersey City Urban Enterprises Zone 5-year zone development plan and zone boundary modifications. The New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone Authority initiated a 5-year zone development plan and zone boundary modification process for each UEZ municipality to perform a full-scale assessment of its 5-year zone development plan and of what it deems to be its qualified zone areas. This comprehensive 5-year plan must be approved by the council, the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Authority, before any new UEZ projects using UEZ funds can be submitted to the state for consideration. Based on the current timeline of the state, this is taking approximately 2 to 3 months for their internal review process before it goes on a authority agenda. The Jersey City Economic Development Corp. retained the services of Urbanomics BFG Planning to assist in drafting its 5-year zone development plan and to draft its zone boundary modifications. I now introduce Tina Lund and Susan Pavati of Urbanomics BFJ Planning to present the UEZ plan and modifications. Thank you.
Evening, Council President and Council. Susan Pavati with BFJ Planning. We were part of this team to update the UEZ 5-year plan, and BFJ's role was primarily stakeholder engagement. So we were fortunate to speak with many of you and your staff via Zoom. In late summer and early fall, we conducted over 20 interviews with over 45 individual stakeholders, really representing a broad spectrum of people in and around the economic development space. This is an economic development focused plan. So we really wanted to get a lot of different perspectives and understand how the city has changed since the last 5-year plan. And that outreach included each of the special improvement districts, members of the council and staff, county chamber, HEDC, and the JCRA as well. And it really just helped to fill in the data that Tina and Urbanomics was working on, contextualize that data, and identify issues and themes that were kind of cross-cutting across different constituencies, and how UEZ funding might be able to address those issues. So just a few quick takeaways. I'm really going to focus on the ones that have the most potential to be addressed by UEZ. So the first thing we heard from many stakeholders is just the need for small business support. It's harder than ever to start a business and sustain a business with increasing competition from online operators, higher costs, different expectations from new demographics. And so businesses really could benefit from things like rent relief, fit out assistance when they're first opening up, marketing education, networking, all of those things are eligible for UEZ funds. Another theme that we heard is public safety. Really across the board, we heard a lot of support for the off-duty public safety officers that are in the SIDS, for the need for enforcement of things like traffic violations, e-bikes, homelessness, loitering, and just support for highly engaged and visible public safety officers in the SIDS and along the business corridors. We heard about communication being an issue for small businesses in particular, just a lack of knowledge about the processes to open a business, to get appropriate permits, what city resources are available. So things like putting more things on the website, EDC having like a flow chart of the approvals processes, all of those types of initiatives could be helpful and could be, again, funded by UEZ. We heard a lot about the different SIDS and where they are in their kind of stage of development. There's a wide range of resources. Some SIDS are very well resourced and well funded, and they're able to focus on things like major events and marketing campaigns. And others are, just barely able to maintain staff and are really kind of just trying to keep the streets clean. So that really raises the concern about, the appropriate and equitable distribution of UEZ funding across the SIDS. And so that is a recommendation of the draft plan, is that that be evaluated. Currently, each SID gets the same amount. And so you might want to look at some kind of a formula that takes different considerations into account to make that a more equitable, more targeted use of funding. That would be a policy decision by City Council, but it's just a recommendation in the plan. Another thing we heard a lot about across the SIDS particularly is just the desire for improved public space, placemaking, and particularly wayfinding to help guide both residents and visitors to available parking, attractions, things that they might be interested in doing. We heard about the need for updates to the wayfinding program. And then lastly, branding and marketing. So there's just a real need for a cohesive marketing campaign and branding campaign for Jersey City to kind of coalesce around one identity. There's a lot of different identities. It's kind of in flux. And we think that there is a real opportunity here to showcase Jersey City's offerings to its own residents as well as throughout the region. That there's an opportunity for regional tourism that really is centered around the great things that Jersey City already has, the food, the culture, the recreation. So that again is something that UEZ funding can be used for, both on a citywide basis and then if needed on a targeted basis in certain areas. So those are just some very, very quick takeaways from all the stakeholder engagement. I'm going to turn it to Tina to talk a little bit about the goals and the map.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Council President and Council members, for having us today. I hope you have a chance to read through the entire UEZ document, but given that it's 120 pages and rather dense, I'm going to walk through the overarching goals and objectives of the 5-year strategic plan. The goals and objectives are strictly to support Jersey City's businesses within the UEZ boundary, and they reflect both the data analysis that we did looking at long-term trends from the time of the previous 5-year plan, as well as all of the input that we received, especially from the SIDS and other stakeholders. One last thing that I need you to note, please, is that the goals and objectives are purposely broad in their description. It is a 5-year plan, and one never knows what's going to arise. So the goals and objectives and strategies themselves are written as broadly as possible to allow the EDC the flexibility to respond to things that come up. And so with that, I'm going to walk through the 4 goals and the underlying strategies. The first is to enhance Jersey City's business climate throughout the city. The city has been incredibly active since 2010 when the last plan was done. And this goal has been very successful in improving things like streetscapes, infrastructure and traffic systems. So the goal is somewhat shifted focus to improving the day-to-day operational environment and being more strategic about coordination and distribution of resources for businesses. So the objectives under this goal are to improve and streamline resource operations and cooperation, continue to build workforce skills, improve quality of life. I did tell you they were very broad. The strategies are more specific. Reduce traffic congestion with transportation improvements and expanded options for a variety of modes, and provide more equitable and targeted funding support to the SIDS. This is a policy issue that will be evaluated by the board of JCEDC, and they would then make recommendations to the City Council for approval. So Susan had mentioned this earlier, but again, this is a recommendation to take a look at that distribution of funding, not a reformulation of that at this time. The second goal is to increase the diversity of Jersey City's economy. It's really been quite amazing. Employment has increased in most industry sectors in the city over the last 15 years. That's really unusual for a region, or for any city within this region. The current focus of this goal is to be more strategic and proactive in business development and attraction to make the most of the city's limited remaining development sites. So the objectives here are to create a strategic plan for business attraction for the limited soft sites available throughout the city, and to continue to support existing and new small businesses, remove the guesswork for new and expanding businesses as well. And that refers to what Susan was saying about business owners getting lost in the process and not having that flow chart of where to go and what to do as they're opening a business or as they're seeking to expand. The next objective is to continue to develop leisure, including arts and a hospitality sector for residents and visitors. These improvements will help capture consumer expenditures, local consumer expenditures, as well as create an opportunity to tap into regional tourism. The next objective is to continue to improve the competitive environment for maker industries, strengthen and upgrade retail and related services along the commercial corridors, and attract larger employers to bring greater job density to Jersey City and provide partnerships for public spaces and development. The third goal is to advance Jersey City's sustainability and resiliency. This goal now acknowledges the increase in extreme climate events as well as limitations of mass transit feasibility. So the objectives here are to provide for a cleaner environment, provide natural and built infrastructure and cleanup support to alleviate and/or respond to environmental events, and to encourage use of mass transit to those for whom it is feasible. And finally, promote Jersey City as a place to live, work, and visit. This goal hasn't changed, but the strategies have been adjusted to reflect some lessons learned. These objectives are enhance entryways to Jersey City and wayfinding throughout the city, ensure that up-to-date information on Jersey City is available online, and to expand UEZ marketing efforts for both business attraction and tourism throughout the region, including New York City and internationally.
Thank you.
I got a question to ask.
Sure.
I'm looking at page 73. It says the population of Ward C has dropped by 3,800 people. I don't see how they could say that with all those giant buildings they put up. People that have moved in. I don't know where they got their statistics from, but I think this is way out of whack.
Okay, that would have been census data from 21, the last set of data that was released in 2022. And it may not have reflected the newest buildings that would not have been completely full when they did their surveying.
Well, I can tell you right now, the population of Ward C has increased tremendously. And it's this statistic is way off.
We emailed Director Barron this. We just identified a couple of retail locations in Ward E that were not included in the map revision, and then a couple others we weren't sure if they were included. And we, prior to approving a new map, wanted to make sure we were including every possible retail location, just to make sure that the businesses there are part of the UEC fund.
Okay. So there are two new locations in one.
Yeah, I'd have to, I double check the email, but there's about 3 or 4, small storefronts, but retail locations. And then there were 3 or 4 we weren't sure about. And we sent them earlier to the director, and we're happy to forward it to you. Just today, we sent it over.
Okay.
But we just want to make sure that they're all included. We sent it today. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take a look.
Great. Thank you.
Any more questions before I move on to the question of the map?
No, just the map.
Okay. So there are small printouts of the map in the report, but we've also brought a large map for you to take a look at. The map and the boundary of the UEZ is the other key component of the plan that's required by the state. The state's regulation is that the parcels in the UEZ boundary must be contiguous. And the other issue is that the parcel area must remain the same as that of the original boundary. So it took a lot of work to try to make a net zero change from that original boundary situation. The map that was presented to the board is based on extensive work that was done in 2022 by Jersey City HEDC. And they had identified all potential development areas in the city and quite a lot of the commercial corridors. Along with this, we included all of the commercial parcels in the SIDS, along with all HEDC requests for inclusion received by Jersey City EDC as of 2 weeks ago. And so far, what we had to date has been reviewed and signed off on both by EDC and vetted by city planning as well. But we'll take a look at those, what we can do.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I do have one question.
There's one more.
So once the council approves what's before us, we submit this to the state, is that right? And do we have a sense of the timeline on how long it will be for the state to approve it?
It takes 2 to 3 months for the state to approve.
Sure, got it. And then once the state approves, then it goes into effect at that point? There's no other hurdles after that?
Can't hear you.
Lawrence.
Sorry, once the Urban Enterprise Zone Authority approves it, it goes into effect.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucinda?
Evening, Council President, council members. My name is Rosemary Nunez, Division Director, Department of Recreation and Youth Development. I am here for item 10.14, Resolution 24-819, authorizing the city to accept the gift of $47,800 to the Department of Recreation and Youth Development from the Kushner Real Estate Group. Questions?
Thank you. Oh, hold on, Rich. You don't want the money,
On
Rich?
this question, on this, he has a question on something else. On this, on it.
You want the money or no?
You have a question on the money? Anybody? He wants to ask them something else. That's why.
Yeah, Rich.
We done with this we done with this. He wants to ask something else, so you know, so you clear.
Youssef and I
Can't hear.
have been trying to.
Can't hear you.
Cut your mic on.
Wait, hold it. Councilman Youssef and I have been trying to have a meeting with your director about Persian Fields since August. Communications with directors is important. Residents call us every day and every night. She has never gotten back to us, and she has not arranged a meeting. And we want a meeting, and we want some issues solved. So you can get it. She left here, I understand. She was sitting there, but not getting back to us as council people is a shame. We're tired of it. Okay, so you can do it.
PA is your directors, right?
Yeah.
So make sure.
Yeah, you could direct those to me, Councilman. I'll make sure it gets addressed.
Right.
We'll make sure. I put you guys on a chain to schedule a meeting and coordinate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe. Yeah, it's you. You up. You didn't realize it, right?
Council President, members of the council, my item is 3.5 on the agenda, ordinance 24-104. Ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 69, Special Improvement Districts, implementing Article 8, Cultural Arts Special Improvement District of the Jersey City Municipal Code. This ordinance is a continuation of the effort to make the cultural space at 808 Pavonia a reality. You'll recall that when we made our presentations to the public and to this body, we talked about a special improvement district, an arts district that would be used to help offset some of the operating costs of the nonprofit when the cultural arts center is up and running. This is the first step that's modeled off of every one of your other special improvement districts. The district includes the 2060 Journal Square redevelopment plan area. It exempts out resident multifamily of 4 units or less. It exempts out rent controlled projects. Otherwise, every other commercial entity would be included. As you may recall, all these property owners will get notices, and then there'll be a public hearing currently is slated for, I think, the December meeting to give people plenty of time to react.
John, I want this pulled. I spoke to the Special Improvement District of Journal Square. People, it's going to increase the taxes, the cost of people doing business in Journal Square. It's going to probably raise our taxes in Journal Square. And I am the councilman from Ward C, and nobody ever tells me about this stuff. We're having a meeting Thursday with the SID. I want this pulled until we sit down and we discuss this whole issue.
So Councilman, there's also noticing requirements. There's a few different steps here, including meeting with the CID, noticing requirements. So we're just asking that we introduce it, and we're going to then delay it while we go through that process.
You're not kidding, you're going to
By
delay.
law, we still have to do public mailers and all that type of stuff.
And John, I'll tell you something. I'm tired of this here with issues coming to Ward C and nobody comes to me and tells me anything about it. And I have to read it out of council agenda. I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming anybody. But it's got to stop.
I respect your concerns.
You know how many people have called me? They're furious about this.
Yeah, so just for the record, it would only impact those individuals that are in those boundaries of the CID. It's not going to necessarily impact residents throughout the ward. But again, I just ask that we have the courtesy of letting Joe present the document for an introduction purpose. We'll go through the formal process of the meetings that are required and the noticing, and then we'll
I want it delayed.
take a vote from there.
For properties that are in the current Journal Square SID,
The district basically matches the 2060 redevelopment plan.
right? And I guess what I'm just saying is, if I'm a property, if there's a property owner that's both in the current Journal Square SID as well as this SID, and it's added, they're paying both assessments.
Correct, Councilman.
And then does this new special improvement district, does it have the full scope and powers of an SID, or is it much more limited in scope to the kind of funding of the cultural institutions?
The ordinance sets it up with more limited powers than the broader powers associated with the special improvement district.
And would there be any overlap in powers between this SID and the existing Journal Square SID?
Yeah, there probably are, because the powers, for example, is to enter into a contract, which would be, for example, which certainly the current,
Right.
I didn't look, but probably has.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And Joe,
Yes, Councilman.
furthermore, nobody came to me, nobody went to the SID, the Journal Square SID, and this comes up to the Loews Theater. All right? So I find it embarrassing that we were never notified. And as I said, we're having a meeting on Thursday, and it's going to be delayed. So there's got to be a lot more discussion on this.
Yeah, and you have my cell phone. You're always welcome to call me, Councilman.
I don't have your cell phone.
No, I'll send it to you.
Is there a map that will show where they overlap with the Journal
Yeah,
Square
we can
SID?
provide you with a map. We do have a map, yes.
Just because I don't see it on the,
So we use the actual block and lot listed, but there is a map which we could circulate for sure.
Joe, if you don't mind copying me on the map, clerk,
Yes.
so I can attach it to the the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
would these businesses essentially have to consent to being a part of the SID, or who's going to elect the trustees? Like what?
So
Go
the
through the
way-
process.
currently the trustee, would there be 7? 3 of whom will be the designee of the mayor's office, the designee of this council, and the HEDC director are the 3 members. Then there'd be 4 public members. The initial members would be the incorporators, and then the membership would select the 4. Obviously, those 4 would have, out of the 7, would have the majority to take most actions. And otherwise, you would adopt budgets as expected for any other SID.
So just make sure Rich gets.
No, I find it embarrassing to have people call me, the businesses call me, and nobody says anything. And then all of a sudden this has popped up on us. And as I said, I'm the council person from Ward C. I should have known about this a long time ago. And after Thursday's meeting, I will let you know. Send me your telephone number, all right?
Yeah, I'd prefer not to give it over the microphone, but I'd be happy to share it with you.
Yeah, okay.
And Joe works on Pacific time, so.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Council.
See what they did to me?
Don Pepe, you're here to,
I'll always stay on.
give us clarity.
It's the same marquee, 80 years old.
Good evening, Council President, Council members. Donald Pepe from Scarinci Hollenbeck on behalf of the Exchange Place Alliance. I was here at the last council caucus to discuss the proposed expansion of the Exchange Place Alliance district boundary map. At that time, I had made a representation that there had been communications between the Exchange Place Alliance and the Historic Downtown Special Improvement District. That was not in fact the case. I did not have accurate information. So what we have subsequently done is we've revised the map to remove any overlap between those two districts. We did have a brief conversation with Historic Downtown. They have really no interest in having a cooperative arrangement between the two SIDs. So we thought the best approach would be to, remove the overlap. I provided correspondence to the council recently that addresses that. We did not mean any harm, and I apologize for the misrepresentation. Would like to proceed with the revised boundary.
I have a slightly different question, but appreciate the update. Have you nailed down and in discussion with the administration the noticing requirement so that if the SID moves forward with an expansion, the requirement of you need to notice every property owner within 200 feet of the boundaries, or simply those who have an assessment increase?
It's the people that would be subject to the assessment increase. I did not nail it down with the council, but that's my understanding has been. And
if you can, just because we've treated it differently for other expansions where we've notified every property owner, even if they're completely unaffected financially. And so I just want to make sure, because obviously if we have to notify every property owner, we'll be notifying, thousands of condo owners nearby, which will raise a series of questions much different than if we're just noticing the, commercial and retail property owners that would be affected by the assessment.
right, there currently nothing is really before this council for a vote. So
I understand.
absolutely.
I just want to answer it because it affects the plan of, but I got you. Yes, I understand it's not before us tonight.
100%. I'll get that information for you as quickly as I can.
Yeah, just to notify us, and you just want to be clear, we're not encroaching on the other SID at all.
I would sooner eat rocks.
Rachel, do you want to get up and speak?
So I just want everyone to know that at the last meeting, that Exchange Place was here. I had no notice. I did not know about the expansion. On the new map, if you take a look at the new map, it's not clear as far as Marin Boulevard, exactly how far they're going and where their point starts and point ends. So I would like that map to be a little bit clearer as far as which businesses they're hitting and which businesses are ending. And as far as what Councilman Solomon said, as far as the 200 feet go, when they do the expansion, what's going to happen is they're going to have to notify my businesses, which is going to be an issue because they're going to be a nervous wreck as far as, are we getting another tax?
They're not.
I understand, but we need to make that clear.
We need to make it clear.
And the map needs to be clearer. The map is not clear as far as where are they expanding. And Marin Boulevard is not the waterfront. Marin Boulevard is really the historic downtown. So when is it going to stop as far as the expansion?
Dawn, are you going to make the map clear? Could you go back? They wanted a clear map to make sure where it starts and ends.
Maps are notoriously difficult, right? Because we all know when you look at them on the boundaries.
Just make it
I think the better way to address this is we will ultimately be providing actual lots, blocks, addresses. It will be crystal clear who is intended to be included
okay.
and who is not.
That's
And, but correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, the new map that you sent, the summary, right, is you're taking Marion Boulevard right in the center, right, between Second.
One
So
side of the.
right now, the western side of Marion Boulevard between Columbus and Second is part of the most, until Columbus and First is part of the downtown SID. And what we're talking about is expanding the Exchange Place borders from Washington to Marion Boulevard, but only the eastern side at this point, from Second
Correct.
Street to Columbus.
Correct. And again, before we come back, if we take this to the next step, I'll have a list of lots, blocks, property addresses. That would be very easy to determine whether you're in or out.
It's true. It is easier that way. Go ahead.
Thing. When the HDSID did this, it took us 2 years to do this. It was a long process. I had to go through the BA's office. I actually met with all the business and property owners. I'm not really quite sure how Exchange Place is here tonight without actually doing all the work. I had to pay for the mailing. I had to meet with the business owners. I had to meet with the property owners. I met with Councilman Solomon, you know, in the caucus room, on Zoom. It was a long process. It was a 2-year process. So just to say, oh, you know, we're going to expand the boundaries, I just want to make sure that everybody's doing the work fair. That's all.
Well, I guess they paying him enough. He better be.
Yeah. Good evening, Council President, council members, Mr. Clerk. Gerard Pizzillo from Genova Burns. I represent HDSID. Thank you for the opportunity and the time this evening. But just to reiterate some of the things that Rachel said, I think, you know, we are concerned about the process. Obviously, thank you, Councilman Solomon, for raising those questions, because that was one of the questions that I had. I was going to pose to the council this evening. And I appreciate Mr. Pepe's representations and understand that my client is willing to work and listen. You know, we saw the council caucus initial meeting in October. I then wrote a letter, which I think is part of the record. We then received a letter on Friday afternoon. That's been the extent of the conversations. And that's fine, but I'm here to put on the record that we are willing to talk and listen and, you know, coordinate. I think SID boundaries are important. I think it's an important fabric to each little district within the city. That's why the council adopts these things to keep that intact. And I would just suggest that, and what was alluded to earlier, the proper boundary line would be the center line of Marin Boulevard. And, you know, the eastern side would be considered, you know, that part of, I guess, call it Exchange Place. I live down there. I don't know if I necessarily live in Exchange Place, but call that as it is. And then on the western side, that would be considered and still within the HDSID boundaries. So that's really all I have to add to the council. I appreciate your consideration, your time as always, and happy to answer any questions if you have any for me.
Make sure we clear with the lots.
Okay. Just a final point. This was not a quick process, and this was not off the cuff. We've had several community meetings. We've had several discussions at our regular SID meetings. We've put out flyers. We've spoken to stakeholders. We've spoken to many of the council members. Council President Waterman is our council representative on the SID, and I think she would agree that this is not something that was off the cuff. We've also been working on this for not 2 years, certainly, but the better part of 7, 8 months.
From the top, Sean.
Alrighty. So right on to our first reading ordinances. Items 3.1 and 3.2 were touched on earlier. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 24-102, is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 8, Metered Parking, Section 332-48B, Designation of Parking Spaces, and Section 332-58, Parking Regulations in Residential Zones, to amend the Zone 4 and metered parking districts along Columbus Drive between Warren Street and Washington Street. Items 3.4 and 5 were touched on earlier. Our second reading ordinance. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 24-099 is an ordinance authorizing certain temporary and permanent easements to New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection in connection with the Rebuild by Design Hudson River project consisting of work for stormwater separation, utility relocation, pile driving, sheet piling, and installation of hard structures such as floor walls and deplorable gates at various locations on Jersey Avenue, Grove Street, Marin Boulevard, and 18th Street. We have our public speakers. Right now, we have 36. And on to our petitions and communications. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.57? Hearing none, there are no officer communications. There are 3 report of directors. Any questions or comments on 8.1 through 8.3? We have our claims and right on to our resolutions. So we're going to go right to items 10.1 through 10.7 were touched on earlier. Item 10.8, Resolution 24-813 is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City Office of Business Administration to accept grant funds from the United States Department of Labor, Workforce Initiative and Opportunities Act for the City of Jersey City Apprenticeship Program. Item 10.9, City Resolution 24-814 is a resolution honoring the Buccaneers. Did I get that right? Buccaneers, there he is. Park Education Alliance for its dedication efforts to honor and educate the public about Puerto Rico's 65th Interstate Regiment and their heroic deeds during the Korean conflict. Councilperson Rivera, are we going to have representation from the Alliance?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Sean, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt you 1 second?
Sure.
Going back to 10.8, can the administration let me know what trade would the apprenticeship be in?
Yeah, so it's several. They don't designate a requirement for it. It's just that we have to have partnerships with the union trades. We had spoken to some of our Hudson County delegates already. We were just waiting for the funding source to be approved prior to any executed agreements.
Okay.
So then we'll bring executed agreements forward to the council representing that. But
So would this be offering like the related technical work that an apprentice would need as they're going through training? Like they would be doing work on city, buildings or within city facilities?
yeah, not exclusively to city because we can't be the sole beneficiary of it. But we're working in collaboration with local partnerships. Potentially, example would be almost shelter, that type of stuff. And we're required to provide labor teachers and then have partnerships with the actual labor unions for potential job placement in the future.
Nice, thank you.
Okay. Next, item 10.10, Resolution 24-815 is a resolution certifying compliance with NJSA 48:5.4, requiring the governing body of every local unit to make an annual audit of the books, accounts, and financial transactions. Council members, that's what's being circulated right now is the affidavit that is part of the attachment of the resolution, and I would need your signature 5 times on all of those copies that are in that folder. And I appreciate that by tomorrow, Thursday. Next is our favorite one, item 10.11, resolution 24-816 is a resolution fixing the dates and times for the caucuses and regular meetings of the municipal council for the year 2025. So just to keep in mind that I kept all of the religious holidays in mind and hopefully took care of all of that. So there is no overlaps on those. And if any council member has a question or comment or any kind of change they would like to make, you can speak now or forever hold your peace. I like that. Item 10.12 was touched on earlier. Item 10.13, resolution 24-818 is a resolution amending a contract with PetServe Door Care. K9 Gordon for providing additional dog housing for the Department of Health and Human Services Division of Animal Control. 10.14 through 10.18 were touched on earlier. 10.19, Resolution 24-824 is a resolution authorizing the purchasing agent to sell various motor vehicles at public auction. Items 10.20 through 10.24 were touched on earlier. Item 10.25, Resolution 24-830 is a resolution awarding the professional service agreement with the law firm of Light DePalma Greenberg to represent the city of Jersey City in various equal opportunity independent investigations. I'm sorry, Corporation Counsel, I
No,
want to rain on your parade.
That's perfectly okay. We have the remaining resolution. So 1025 is just for when we need an independent outside firm to do the investigations that we can't handle in-house. For 1026, this is a resolution authorizing a contract to Light DePalma Greenberg in the Jersey City United against the new ward map. For City of Jersey City, we are going to the New Jersey Supreme Court in this matter.
Can I ask,
Councilman, you can't vote on it.
why are we switching counsel here?
We're not switching. This is in addition to the council we already have. So Light DePalma would represent the city while Jason Orlando's firm represents the ward commission itself. This is to deal with all the amicus briefs that come in and prepare us for argument. Mr. Greenberg is an appellate attorney that has argued before the Supreme Court.
And sorry, we're filing amicus briefs on this? So like, cause I
There are other organizations that have filed amicus briefs that we need to respond to, and then we have other organizations that will be filing as well. But we're not writing those. Just
no, I understand. Yeah, I understand. And why can't so why can't the existing council be the response to those that represents the ward commission?
we think it's important to have somebody with appellate Supreme Court experience to assist us in this.
Okay, thank you.
And then on 1027, this is a settlement. We did provide the confidential memo to council. It should have been in the council office this afternoon. If anybody has any additional questions for me, I know Councilman Gilmore, we did answer a few questions your office had already. Anybody has any other questions, we can answer them offline. And then 1028, we do have some settlements and litigation updates we'd like to discuss. So we're just putting on a closed session before we have any other settlements coming through for the end of the year.
Okay, council. So with that being
Hold on, Sean, I do have one item. It was an iCompass. I don't know why it wasn't uploaded, but it's a resolution honoring the life of Ms. Goodwin. She was a security guard here in Jersey City. She worked for the city, I think, for over 20 years, and fortunately, she lost her life last week. So I would be planning on walking that one on. And John, if you could speak to the other one.
Council President, I didn't get a chance to address this one with you, but there is a mortgage discharge, kind of routine business that would come from Deja's office that if it doesn't meet the timeline for this meeting, they'll be subject to penalties. So we're going to ask if the council can consider that. It's pretty routine, and I could circulate it to the council prior to the meeting.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm just realizing, I mean, I'll check with my office. We had a ceremonial resolution for a doctor who helped save the life during the half marathon. Yeah. So I would love to have it for Thursday because I think he's available on Thursday. So we'll just confirm.
Sean, to make sure those 3 items are uploaded.
Great. Thank you.
Sean will do it, and I'll just thank him.
So we'll make sure that they're uploaded, and then council, obviously they'll be considered late items, and we'll have to take a vote on that in the beginning of the meeting. All right, with that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn at 5:36 PM?
Motion.
Motion was made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to adjourn at 5:36 PM, all council members present by acclamation, please say aye. We are out of here at 5:36 PM. Thank you so much, everyone present and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night and stay safe.